Marcus Chen pushed open the glass door of the burger restaurant. The bell above the door rang softly. It was Thursday evening, 6:30, just like always. He had been coming to this place every Tuesday and Thursday for 3 months now. The restaurant was not fancy. It had white tile floors that always looked a bit greasy. The walls were painted bright yellow and red. Plastic tables and chairs filled the dining area. A counter stood at the front where workers took orders. Behind them, Marcus could see the kitchen through a large window. The smell of fried food filled the air. Marcus walked to the counter. The teenage boy there looked up and gave a small nod. The workers here knew Marcus's face now. They did not know his name. They did not know what he did for work. They just knew he came in twice a week and always ordered the same thing. The usual? The boy asked. Yes, please, Marcus said. 1 cheeseburger, small fries, and water. The boy punched the order into the register. Marcus paid with cash. He always paid with cash. He took his receipt and his cup for water, then walked to his usual table by the window. This spot was perfect. Marcus could see everything from here. He could watch the counter where customers ordered. He could see into the kitchen where workers cooked the food. He could also see the small office in the back corner where the manager spent most of his time. Marcus was not just a regular customer. He was a federal agent with the FBI. For the past 3 months, he had been working undercover. His real job here was to watch the money. The man who owned this restaurant franchise was connected to a money laundering operation. Bad people were using the restaurant to make dirty money look clean. Marcus had spent weeks watching, taking notes, and gathering evidence. He wrote down when cash deliveries came. He noticed when the numbers on the register did not match the food sold. He took pictures of documents when he could. His investigation was going well. Soon his team would have enough evidence to make arrests. But during these 3 months, Marcus had noticed something else. Something that was not part of his investigation but bothered him deeply. He had noticed the manager. The manager's name was Derek Sullivan. He was in his late 30s, maybe 38 or 39. He was losing his hair on top of his head. He was a bit overweight and always looked tired. But his eyes were mean. Derek walked around the restaurant like he owned the world. In his small kingdom of burgers and fries, he had power over the young workers. And he loved using that power. Marcus had watched Derek yell at workers many times. Derek would shout at them in front of customers. He would call them stupid or lazy. He made jokes about how they looked or how they talked. When young female workers were on shift, Derek would make comments about their appearance that made them uncomfortable. He would stand too close to them. He would touch their shoulders when he talked to them. 1 week ago, Marcus had seen Derek make a 16-year-old girl cry. She had forgotten to put a sauce packet in a customer's bag. It was a small mistake. Anyone could make it. But Derek had screamed at her for 5 minutes. He called her worthless. He said she was too stupid to work anywhere. The girl had tears running down her face, but she could not leave. She needed the job. She just stood there and took it while Derek destroyed her confidence. Marcus had also seen Derek mock a young man who had a stutter. The worker tried to take an order, and he struggled to get his words out. Derek had imitated him, making the stutter worse on purpose. He laughed. Other workers had looked away, embarrassed for their co-worker but too afraid to say anything. Every time Marcus saw these things, his hands would tighten into fists under the table. Every time he had to remind himself why he was here. His job was to follow the money. His job was to build a case against the owner for financial crimes. His job was not to get involved in workplace problems. But it was hard. Marcus had become an FBI agent because he believed in protecting people. He believed in standing up to bullies. And Derek was a bully. A small, mean bully who only felt big when he was hurting people who could not fight back. Marcus's burger arrived. He thanked the worker and started eating slowly. He always ate slowly here. It gave him more time to watch. He pulled out his phone and pretended to scroll through social media. Really, he was watching the security camera angles. He was watching how the cash was handled. He was doing his job. The dinner rush was starting. More customers came through the door. Workers moved faster behind the counter. Orders were called out. The fryer beeped. The drink machine hissed as cups filled with soda. Derek stood near the counter with his arms crossed. He watched his workers like a prison guard. When someone moved too slow, he would snap his fingers at them. When someone made a tiny mistake, he would sigh loudly and shake his head. He wanted everyone to know he was disappointed. He wanted everyone to feel like they were failing. Marcus finished his burger. He ate his fries one by one. He sipped his water. He watched everything and wrote nothing down. He kept it all in his memory. That was part of being a good undercover agent. Never look like you are paying too much attention. Never let anyone know you are watching. After 40 minutes, Marcus stood up. He threw away his trash and put his tray on top of the trash can. He left a $5 tip on the table. It was more than necessary for fast food, but Marcus always tipped well. These workers did not make much money. They worked hard. They deserved something extra. As Marcus walked toward the door, he heard Derek's voice rise. The manager was yelling at someone again. Marcus glanced over. It was the teenage boy who had taken his order. The boy had apparently messed up someone's drink. Derek was making a scene about it. Marcus pushed through the door and walked to his car. He sat in the driver's seat for a moment before starting the engine. He looked back at the restaurant through his windshield. The bright lights made the building look cheerful from outside. But Marcus knew what it was really like inside. He knew about the fear the workers felt. He knew about the way Derek treated them. Marcus started his car and drove away. He had a meeting with his partner tomorrow. They would review the evidence they had collected. They were close to finishing the investigation. Maybe another week or two and they could move forward with arrests. But as Marcus drove through the evening traffic, he could not stop thinking about the workers. He could not stop thinking about how Derek treated them. He told himself it was not his problem. He told himself there were other agencies that handled workplace issues. His job was financial crimes, not employee relations. Still, something bothered him. Something sat heavy in his chest. Marcus had the power to do something. He had resources most people did not have. He had authority most people never got. And he was watching people get hurt every week. Marcus shook his head. He needed to focus. He needed to finish his investigation. That was the priority. Everything else would have to wait. He did not know that everything was about to change. He did not know that next Thursday would be different. He did not know that he was about to break his own rules about staying uninvolved. Sometimes the smallest moments change everything. Sometimes watching one more person get hurt is the thing that finally makes you act. For Marcus Chen, that moment was coming soon. Very soon. The next Tuesday came and went. Marcus made his regular visit to the restaurant. Everything seemed normal. Derek yelled at workers. Customers came and went. Marcus ate his cheeseburger and watched. He added more notes to his mental file about the money laundering investigation. Thursday arrived with clear October weather. The air was cool but not cold yet. Marcus parked his car in the restaurant parking lot at 6:30, exactly on time. He had a routine and he stuck to it. Routines made you invisible. When you did the same thing every time, people stopped noticing you. Marcus walked through the door. The bell rang. He looked at the counter and immediately noticed something different. There was a new worker there. A young woman he had never seen before. She looked nervous. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight ponytail. Her uniform was perfectly clean, which meant it was probably her first day. Her name tag said Sarah in black letters. She was maybe 19 or 20 years old. She had the look of someone who really needed this job to work out. Behind her, watching like a hawk, stood Derek. His arms were crossed over his chest. His face already showed annoyance. It was her first day and he already looked angry with her. Marcus walked to the counter. Sarah looked up and smiled. It was a nervous smile, but a real one. "Hi, welcome. What can I get for you today?" "1 cheeseburger, small fries, and water, please," Marcus said. He kept his voice friendly. First days were hard enough without customers being rude. Sarah punched the order into the register. Her hands shook slightly. She hit a wrong button and had to start over. Marcus saw Derek's eyes narrow behind her. "Sorry," Sarah said quickly. "I'm still learning." "No problem at all," Marcus said. "Take your time." She completed the order and Marcus paid. He took his cup and receipt and walked to his usual table by the window. He sat down and pulled out his phone. But his attention was on Sarah. The restaurant was starting to fill up. 6:30 to 7:30 was the dinner rush. Families came in after work. Teenagers came in groups. People who did not want to cook at home came for cheap, fast meals. Sarah was trying her best. Marcus could see that. She was taking orders carefully. She was asking questions when she was not sure about something. She was being polite to every customer. But she was slow. New workers were always slow. Speed came with practice. Derek did not care about that. Every time Sarah took a bit too long, he would make a sound. A loud sigh. A click of his tongue. Small sounds that said, "You're not good enough," without using words. Other workers were helping her when they could. The teenage boy from before would lean over and whisper instructions. An older woman working the fries would nod encouragement. But they all had their own jobs to do. They could not hold Sarah's hand through everything. Marcus's food arrived. He started eating, but he was watching the counter more than usual. Something felt wrong. The air felt heavy, like before a storm. Then it happened. A customer ordered a large meal. 2 burgers, 2 fries, 2 drinks, and apple pies. Sarah carefully packed everything into bags, but she made a mistake. She put one customer's fries into the wrong bag. The orders got mixed up. The customer pointed it out. "Excuse me, these are not my fries." Sarah's face went red. "Oh no, I'm so sorry. Let me fix that right away." She started to sort out the bags. It would take maybe 30 seconds to fix. It was not a big problem. These things happened all the time in fast food restaurants. But Derek saw it. He had been waiting for her to mess up. Marcus could see it in the way Derek's face changed. He looked almost happy. He finally had a reason to unleash. Derek walked over fast. His footsteps were heavy. "What's going on here?" His voice was loud. Everyone in the restaurant could hear. "I just mixed up 2 orders," Sarah said quietly. "I'm fixing it now." "You mixed up the orders?" Derek said even louder. "How hard is it to put food in a bag? Are you stupid?" The restaurant got quiet. Customers stopped talking. Everyone was watching now. Sarah's hand started shaking more. "I'm sorry. It's my first day. I'm still learning." "First day?" Derek laughed, but it was not a nice laugh. "Most people can figure this out in the first hour. Maybe you're just too dumb for this job. Maybe you're too dumb to work anywhere." Marcus's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. His jaw tightened. Sarah's eyes were getting wet. "I'm really sorry. I'll be more careful." "Sorry doesn't fix it," Derek said. He grabbed the bag of fries that had been in the wrong place. In one quick motion, he dumped them onto the counter. French fries scattered everywhere. Some fell on the floor. "Clean it up," Derek said. His voice was cold now. "And you're paying for these. That's $37 worth of wasted food. Maybe that'll teach you to pay attention." Sarah just stood there. Tears were starting to run down her face. Her hands were shaking badly now. "But I don't. $37 is almost half my day's pay. Should have thought about that before you messed up," Derek said. "Now clean. Use your hands. I want you to pick up every single fry." Marcus watched Sarah bend down and start picking up French fries with her bare hands. Tears were dripping off her face onto the floor. Other workers looked away. They wanted to help but were too scared of Derek. Customers in line looked uncomfortable. Some left, others pulled out their phones. A few were recording videos. Derek stood there with his arms crossed, watching Sarah pick up fries. He looked proud of himself. He had shown everyone who was boss. He had made an example out of the new girl. Marcus set down his fork. He was not hungry anymore. His food sat half-eaten on his tray. He watched Sarah pick up fries while trying not to cry in front of everyone. Something inside Marcus broke. He had spent 3 months staying quiet. 3 months watching Derek hurt people. 3 months telling himself it was not his job to get involved. 3 months putting his investigation first. But there were some things that were more important than an investigation. There were some things you could not just watch and do nothing. Marcus pulled out his phone. He sent a quick text to his partner, Agent Lisa Park. "Need to talk." "Something happened," she texted back right away. "Everything okay?" Marcus typed slowly. "The investigation is solid. We have enough evidence. But I need to do something else before we close this location." "What kind of something else?" Marcus watched Sarah finish picking up the fries. She threw them away and went to wash her hands. Her face was red and wet with tears. Derek had walked away, already bored with her humiliation. "Personal project," Marcus typed. "Not official. Just something that needs doing." There was a pause. Then Lisa wrote back, "Be careful. Don't blow your cover for something stupid." Marcus almost smiled. "It's not stupid. Trust me." He finished his water and stood up. He threw away his half-eaten food and walked out to his car. Once inside, he sat and made several phone calls. First, he called Lisa for real. He explained what he had just witnessed. She listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "You know this isn't part of our job." "I know," Marcus said. "And you know you could get in trouble for using your position for personal reasons." "I know that too." Another pause. "What do you need?" Marcus smiled. "Just some information. Background checks. Public records. Nothing illegal. Just things that anyone could find if they knew where to look." Lisa sighed. "You're going to do this no matter what I say, aren't you?" "Yes, fine, send me the name. I'll see what I can find." Marcus spent the next hour sitting in his car, making calls and sending messages. He reached out to friends in other government agencies. The Department of Labor, OSHA, the State Labor Board. He did not ask for favors. He just asked questions. He just made sure certain people knew about certain things. By the time he drove home, Marcus had a plan. It was not an official FBI operation. It would not go in any report. But it was going to happen. He spent the weekend preparing. He made lists. He checked details. He thought through every step. When you spent years as an undercover agent, you learned how to plan. You learned how to think 3 moves ahead. On Monday, Marcus did something unusual. He created a fake social media account and reached out to Sarah. He pretended to be a customer who had witnessed what Derek did. He said he wanted to offer support. Sarah responded within an hour. She was grateful. She said she had almost quit but could not afford to. She needed the money. Her mom was sick and she was helping with medical bills. Marcus asked if she would be working Thursday evening. She said yes. "Good," Marcus said out loud to his empty apartment. Thursday it is. He had 4 days to get everything ready. 4 days to set up what would become the most talked about fast food order in the city's history. Derek had no idea what was coming. He thought he had all the power. He thought no one could touch him. He was about to learn how wrong he was. Monday morning, Marcus sat at his desk in the FBI field office. He had files spread out in front of him. Most of them were about the money laundering case. But he had started a new file too. This one was labeled simply Sullivan Derek. His partner Lisa walked over with 2 cups of coffee. She set one on his desk and looked at the papers. "So you're really doing this?" Marcus took a sip of coffee. "I'm really doing this." Lisa sat on the edge of his desk. She was in her early 40s with short gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been Marcus's partner for 5 years. They trusted each other completely. "Tell me the plan." Marcus leaned back in his chair. "Derek Sullivan has been getting away with treating workers badly for years. I did some digging over the weekend. 3 former employees filed complaints with HR. Nothing happened. Know why?" "Let me guess," Lisa said. "Connections?" His uncle owns the franchise. 5 locations total. The uncle doesn't care how Derek treats workers as long as the money comes in. And Derek makes sure the money comes in, even if he has to squeeze every drop of energy from teenagers making minimum wage. Lisa nodded slowly. "So the system protects him?" "Exactly. Normal complaints go nowhere. Workers are too scared to push harder because they need their jobs. It's a perfect setup for a bully." "But you're not going to file a normal complaint," Lisa said. Marcus smiled. "No, I'm not. I'm going to make Derek understand what it feels like to be powerless. I'm going to make him feel small. And I'm going to make sure the right people pay attention to what he's been doing." Over the next hour, Marcus explained his plan. Lisa listened, occasionally asking questions. When he finished, she was quiet for a long time. "That's either brilliant or insane," she finally said. "Maybe both," Marcus admitted. "And you're sure the money laundering investigation can stand without your continued surveillance?" "Positive. We have months of evidence. Financial records. Video footage. Witness statements. We could move tomorrow if we wanted to." Lisa stood up. "Then I guess you should do what you need to do. But Marcus, be smart about it. Don't do anything that could come back on you. I'll be careful." She walked away, then stopped and turned back. For what it's worth, that girl didn't deserve what happened to her. None of them do, so good. After Lisa left, Marcus got to work. He pulled up everything he could find on Derek Sullivan. It was not hard. People left digital footprints everywhere. Derek had a long history of workplace complaints that went nowhere. But Marcus also found health code violations at the restaurant, small things that had been noted but never really fixed. He found scheduling practices that broke labor laws. Workers were sometimes kept for 10-hour shifts without proper breaks. Minors were occasionally scheduled past the legal hours for their age. Marcus made a list. He called his contact at the Department of Labor. He did not tell them to investigate. He just asked general questions about labor law enforcement. He mentioned he had been doing surveillance at a restaurant and noticed some concerning practices. He wondered who would handle such things if someone filed a complaint. His contact was helpful. They explained the process. They mentioned that if multiple complaints came in about the same location, it would trigger an automatic investigation. Marcus thanked them and hung up. He made a note on his list. Next, he called his contact at OSHA. Same approach. General questions. Casual mentions of workplace safety concerns. Nothing direct. Nothing that could be traced back as abuse of his federal position. By Tuesday afternoon, Marcus had planted seeds with 4 different agencies. He had not asked anyone to do anything. He had just made sure the right people were thinking about the right things. Now came the interesting part. Marcus opened a new document on his computer. He titled it, The Order. For the next 2 hours, he crafted what would become the most complicated fast food order the restaurant had ever seen. 30 different burgers, each with specific modifications. Some with extra pickles, some with no pickles, some with light mayo, some with extra mayo, some with cheese on the bottom instead of on top of the patty. 15 orders of fries with different cooking requirements, extra crispy, light, well done. No salt, extra salt, some regular size, some large, some with specific temperature requirements, 20 drinks, every single drink on the menu. Some with easy ice, some with no ice, some with ice on the side, some half one drink and half another, some with specific amounts of each drink mixed together. Apple pies at different temperatures, salads with ingredients removed and others added, chicken nuggets with sauce mixed in specific ways. The order was massive. It was complicated. It was annoying. And every single item was something that could reasonably be ordered. Nothing was impossible. Nothing was insulting. It was just incredibly specific and would take a very long time to fulfill correctly. Marcus read through his list 3 times. He added a few more details. He wanted this to be perfect. Wednesday, Marcus did not go to the restaurant. He broke his routine on purpose. He wanted Thursday to feel normal to Derek. He wanted no warning. Instead, Marcus spent Wednesday evening preparing everything else. He checked his badge. He made sure his credentials were clean and professional looking. He withdrew a large amount of cash from his bank. When you paid cash for a big order, restaurants could not refuse you easily. He also reached out to Sarah again through social media. He asked how her week was going. She said it was hard, but she was managing. Derek was still mean to her, but she was trying to avoid mistakes. Marcus felt a flash of anger reading that. A 20-year-old woman should not have to be afraid of making small mistakes at a fast food job. But he kept his response supportive and kind. He asked again if she was working Thursday evening. She confirmed she was. "I hope your Thursday goes better than last week," Marcus typed. "Thank you," Sarah wrote back. "That's really kind of you to care." If only she knew what was coming. Thursday morning arrived. Marcus woke up early. He went for a run to clear his head. He ate a good breakfast. He went to the office and finished up some paperwork on other cases. Lisa stopped by his desk around noon. "Today's the day?" Marcus nodded. "You ready?" "I've been ready since I watched him humiliate that girl." Lisa leaned against his desk. "Look, I know why you're doing this, and I respect it. But remember, you're still a federal agent. You still represent the FBI. Whatever you do tonight, make sure it's something you can defend if anyone asks." "Everything I'm planning is legal," Marcus said. "I'm just a customer placing a large order. I'm just being very specific about what I want. And if I happen to reveal my identity while doing so, that's just conversation." "And the other agencies?" "I gave them information they would have found eventually anyway. I just sped up the process." Lisa studied his face for a moment. Then she smiled slightly. "That Derek guy has no idea what's about to hit him." "No," Marcus said. "He doesn't." The afternoon moved slowly. Marcus tried to focus on work, but his mind kept going to the plan. He reviewed his order list 3 more times. He thought through every possible way things could go wrong. At 5 o'clock, Marcus left the office. He drove home and changed into casual clothes. Jeans, a plain jacket. Nothing that would stand out. He looked in the mirror. Just a regular customer. Nothing special about him at all. He put his badge and credentials in his jacket pocket. He grabbed the cash from his dresser. He picked up his printed order list from the kitchen table. Marcus stood in his apartment for a moment. Was he really going to do this? Was he really going to use his position as a federal agent to get revenge for a fast food worker? Then he thought about Sarah's face. He thought about the tears running down her cheeks while she picked up fries. He thought about Derek standing over her, proud of himself for crushing someone who could not fight back. Yes, he was really going to do this. Marcus got in his car. He drove slowly through the city streets, no rush. He wanted to arrive at exactly 6 o'clock, before the dinner rush started, but early enough that Derek would be there. He pulled into the parking lot at 5:58. He sat in his car for 2 minutes watching the entrance. A few customers went in and out. The lights inside were bright. Everything looked normal. At exactly 6 o'clock, Marcus got out of his car. He walked across the parking lot. He pulled open the door. The bell rang. Derek was standing near the counter. Sarah was at the register. Several other workers moved around in the kitchen. Marcus walked up to the counter. Sarah looked up and smiled. She recognized him as the nice customer from last week. "Hi," she said. "What can I get for you today?" Marcus pulled out his printed list. He set it on the counter and smiled back. "Well," he said, "I'm ordering for a large group today. It's going to be a pretty big order. Is that okay?" Sarah glanced at the list. Her eyes widened slightly as she saw how long it was. "Oh, sure, yes, that's fine. Okay, go ahead." Derek noticed the interaction. He walked over, curious. He looked at Marcus and then at the list. Marcus smiled pleasantly. "I hope this isn't too much trouble. I'm happy to wait as long as it takes." "We can handle it," Derek said. His voice had that fake cheerfulness managers used with customers. "That's what we're here for." "Wonderful," Marcus said. "Let me start from the beginning." And so it began. Marcus started reading from his list. Sarah picked up a pen and started writing. Derek stood behind her listening. "Okay, first burger," Marcus said. "Regular cheeseburger, but I need the cheese placed under the patty instead of on top. Extra pickles, light mayo, no onions, and the bun toasted dark." Sarah wrote it down carefully. "Got it." Second burger. "Double cheeseburger with 1 slice of cheese between the patties and 1 slice on top. Regular pickles, extra tomato, lettuce, but can you put the lettuce under the patty? Regular mayo, mustard on the side." Derek's eyebrow went up slightly, but he said nothing. Customers could order how they wanted. Third burger. Single burger, no cheese, but add bacon. The bacon should be extra crispy. Light ketchup, no mustard, extra onions, regular pickles, and can you toast just the top bun, not the bottom? This continued. Marcus went through all 30 burgers. Each one had different specific requirements. Some seemed normal. Some seemed odd but possible. All of them were legitimate orders that any customer could make. Sarah's hand was cramping by burger 15. Other customers started lining up behind Marcus. They looked annoyed. One person checked their watch. Another sighed loudly, Marcus noticed. "I'm sorry to everyone waiting," he said, turning around. "I'm ordering for a big community event. I really appreciate everyone's patience." His voice was so friendly and apologetic that people's annoyance faded. They nodded. They understood. Community events needed food. Derek's jaw was tight. Marcus could see the manager was getting irritated. But what could he say? This was a paying customer with a large order. The restaurant was in the business of selling food. After the burgers came the fries. 15 large orders of fries, please. But each cooked differently. Derek finally spoke up. "Differently how?" "Well, first 3 orders should be extra crispy. Really well done. The next 2 should be light, just barely cooked. The next 4 should be regular, but 2 with no salt and 2 with extra salt. The next 3 should be medium crispy, with salt on the side. And the last 3 should be cooked regular, but I need them at different temperatures, hot, warm, and cool." Sarah stopped writing. "Cool fries?" "Yes, please. Some people at the event prefer their fries not too hot. Food sensitivity issues. I hope that's okay." What could they say? Marcus was being polite. He was explaining his reasons. He was not being rude or demanding. He was just very, very specific. "We can do that," Derek said, though his voice was strained. Sarah kept writing. Her hand was really hurting now. She had filled 3 full pages of order notes. Then came the drinks. 20 of them. Marcus ordered every single drink on the menu. Coke with easy ice, Sprite with no ice, root beer with ice on the side. Orange soda half filled. Lemonade mixed with iced tea but more lemonade than tea. Diet Coke mixed with regular Coke, exactly half and half. For this one, Marcus said, pointing to his list, I need root beer with 3 ice cubes. Exactly 3. Not 2, not 4, 3. Derek's face was turning red. 3 ice cubes? Yes, medical reasons for one of the people at the event. Their doctor said 3 ice cubes is the right amount. I know it sounds strange, but I promised I would follow their requirements exactly. Again, what could Derek say? Marcus had an explanation. It was weird, but customer service meant serving customers, even weird ones. The line behind Marcus was now 6 people long. They were getting restless. Derek made a decision. Sarah, keep taking his order. Everyone else, Juan will help you at register 2. Another worker opened a second register. The line split. People moved to the other register, relieved. Marcus continued. Apple pies at different temperatures. Salads with specific ingredients removed and added. Chicken nuggets with sauces mixed in particular ways. On and on it went. Finally, after 45 minutes, the order was complete. Sarah's hand was shaking from writing so much. She had filled 7 pages of notes. Okay, she said, her voice tired. Let me ring this up. She started entering everything into the computer. It took another 20 minutes. The total came to over $300. Marcus pulled out his wallet. He counted out cash. Exact bills. No need for change. Derek's eyes widened slightly at the money. $300 was a good sale. Okay, sir, Sarah said. This is going to take a while to prepare. Maybe 45 minutes to an hour? Is that okay? Perfectly fine, Marcus said. I'll wait right over there. He pointed to a table near the front. The same table he always sat at. Marcus took his receipt and his cup. He filled it with water and sat down. He pulled out his phone and pretended to scroll through it. In the kitchen, chaos was starting. The cook staff had been given Sarah's 7 pages of notes. They stared at the orders with confusion and growing frustration. Who orders fries at different temperatures? One cook said. Just make them, Derek snapped. The customer paid. We make the food. Workers started cooking. Burgers on the grill. Fries in the fryer. Drinks being poured. The kitchen became a mess of activity. Derek stood in the middle of it all, directing traffic. His face was red. Sweat was forming on his forehead. This was the most complicated order he had ever seen. Marcus watched from his table. Other customers came and went. They got their simple orders quickly, but the kitchen staff was so focused on Marcus's massive order that everything took longer than normal. Some customers complained. Why is my burger taking so long? Derek had to apologize. We're working on a very large order. Sorry for the wait. After 40 minutes, food started coming out. Workers brought bags and trays to the front counter. They started organizing everything for Marcus. Marcus stood up and walked over. Thank you so much. Now, before I take this, I need to check each item. I want to make sure everything is right. You understand, don't you? With an order this big, I need to verify it all. Derek's eye twitched, but he nodded. Of course. Customer satisfaction is important to us. I'm so glad to hear that, Marcus said with a warm smile. He pulled out his list. He started going through each item one by one. He unwrapped the first burger. Opened it, looked inside, took a small bite. Perfect, he said. The cheese is under the patty, just like I asked. Great job. Sarah and the workers relaxed slightly. Okay, maybe this would be fine. Marcus unwrapped the second burger, opened it, looked inside. His face showed disappointment. Oh no, he said gently. This one has onions. I asked for no onions on this burger. He showed Derek. Sure enough, there were onions. Derek's jaw clenched. Sarah, remake number 2. No onions. I'm so sorry, Sarah said quickly. She grabbed the burger and went to the kitchen. Marcus continued checking. Burger 3 was perfect. Burger 4 had too much mayo. Remake. Burger 5 was fine. Burger 6 had the wrong type of cheese. Remake. Each mistake meant workers had to stop and remake that item. Each remake took time. Each mistake made Derek angrier, but Marcus was never rude. He was apologetic. He was understanding. I know this is a lot of trouble. I really appreciate your patience with me. It's just that I promised everyone at the event they would get exactly what they ordered. How could anyone argue with that? The fries were next. Marcus checked temperatures. Some were too hot. Remake. Some were too salty. Remake. The cool fries were still warm. remake and wait for them to cool. An hour had passed. The kitchen was falling behind on regular orders. Customers were complaining more. Derek was sweating heavily now. His shirt was sticking to his back. "Is there a problem?" one customer asked loudly. "I've been waiting 20 minutes for a simple burger." Derek had to go apologize again. He explained about the large order. Some customers were understanding. Others were angry and left. Marcus checked drinks. The one with 3 ice cubes had 4. Remake. The half lemonade, half tea was more tea than lemonade. Remake. The root beer was supposed to have no ice but had ice. Remake. More workers were called in from the back. Everyone was focused on Marcus's order. The restaurant was in chaos. Derek walked over to Marcus. He was trying very hard to keep his voice calm. "Sir, we're doing our best, but this is taking a lot of time." "I completely understand," Marcus said, "and I appreciate how hard everyone is working. But I did pay over $300. I just want to make sure everything is right." "That's reasonable, isn't it?" It was reasonable. Derek could not argue. A customer paying that much money deserved to get what they ordered. "Of course," Derek said through gritted teeth. "We'll get everything right." 2 hours had now passed since Marcus placed his order. The dinner rush was completely backed up. Regular customers were experiencing long waits. Some people walked out without ordering. Others demanded refunds for cold food or wrong orders because the kitchen was too overwhelmed. Derek was in hell. His perfect control over his restaurant was falling apart. All because of one customer and one very large, very specific order, and Marcus was just getting started. He checked the apple pies. Wrong temperatures. All of them needed to be remade. He checked the salads. Missing ingredients, remakes. He checked the nuggets. Wrong sauce combinations. More remakes. Sarah looked like she might cry. Not from Derek yelling at her this time, but from exhaustion. She had been running back and forth for 2 hours. Marcus looked at her kindly. "Are you doing okay?" "You look tired." "I'm fine," Sarah said quietly. "Just a long day." "You're doing a great job," Marcus said. "Really? I appreciate your help with all this." 2.5 hours had passed. The restaurant looked like a war zone. Used wrappers and bags covered the front counter. 3 tables had been pushed together to hold all of Marcus's food. Workers moved around with exhausted faces. The dinner rush had come and gone, but many customers had left angry because of the long waits. Derek's shirt was soaked with sweat. His face had gone from red to almost purple. He stood near the counter with his arms crossed, watching Marcus check item after item. Marcus remained calm and pleasant. He opened another burger, examined it, and nodded. "This one is good." He set it aside in the approved pile. The next burger had a problem. "I'm sorry, but I asked for the bun to be toasted dark. This is medium at best. Could I get this remade?" Derek's hands tightened into fists, but he nodded to a worker. "Remake it." The worker took the burger with shaking hands and went back to the kitchen. The cook staff was ready to collapse. They had been making and remaking food for nearly 3 hours. Marcus checked 3 more burgers. All perfect. Then he got to one that had pickle slices that were too thick. "I asked for regular pickles, but these are the thick-cut ones. I know it seems like a small thing, but one of the people at the event is very particular about pickles. Could we remake this one? Are you serious?" The words came out before Derek could stop them. "It's just pickles." Marcus looked up. His face showed confusion, not anger. "I understand it seems small, but I did specify regular pickles on my order. I paid for what I asked for. That seems fair, doesn't it?" Derek wanted to scream. He wanted to throw Marcus out, but he could not. Everything Marcus was saying was completely reasonable. A customer deserved to get what they paid for. That was basic business. "Fine," Derek said. "Remake it." Other customers in the restaurant were watching now. Some had pulled out their phones. A few were recording. This was becoming entertainment. The very specific customer and the increasingly frustrated manager. Marcus continued his inspection. He checked every single fry container. Some were good. Some needed more salt. Some needed less salt. Some were not crispy enough. Each problem meant another trip to the kitchen. One container of fries was supposed to be cool, but they were still warm. Marcus touched them gently. "These are still a bit warm. Could we let them sit for a few more minutes?" A worker took the fries and put them in the walk-in cooler. They set a timer for 5 minutes. Derek was pacing now. He could not stand still. His restaurant was falling apart. His workers were exhausted. And this one customer was still checking food, finding small mistakes, asking for corrections. "Sir," Derek said, trying to sound professional, "we've been working on your order for over 2 hours. We're doing our absolute best." "And I can see that," Marcus said warmly. "Everyone has been wonderful. I just want to make sure everything is right before I leave. You understand, don't you? If I show up to the event with wrong orders, people will be disappointed. I'm just trying to be a good organizer." What could Derek say to that? Marcus was being reasonable. He was being polite. He was not yelling or being rude. He was just very, very particular. Marcus moved to the drinks. He had a small thermometer in his pocket. He used it to check temperatures. Some drinks were too cold. Some were not cold enough. The one with exactly 3 ice cubes had melted ice, so now it had too much water. Remake. A young worker approached Derek. "Manager, we're running low on cups. We've used so many for remakes." Derek closed his eyes and took a deep breath. "Get more from the back. We're also low on burger patties. I said get more from the back." Derek's voice was loud, angry. Several customers looked over. Marcus looked up from checking a drink. "Is everything okay? I don't want to be causing problems." "Everything is fine," Derek said, his voice tight. But everything was not fine. Derek was losing control. His carefully managed restaurant was in chaos. And it was all because of one customer with an impossible order. Marcus checked the salads next. Each one had specific instructions about which vegetables to include or exclude. One salad was supposed to have no tomatoes but had tomatoes. Remake. Another was supposed to have extra cucumbers but had regular cucumbers. Remake. 3 hours had passed now. It was after 9 o'clock. The restaurant usually quieted down by this time. But tonight it was still busy. People had come in just to see what was happening. Word had spread on social media about the crazy specific customer and the suffering manager. Some people were on Team Marcus. He paid for his food. He should get it right. Others felt bad for the workers. "This is too much. It's just fast food." But Marcus continued, patient, polite, careful. He checked the apple pies. They were supposed to be at specific temperatures. He had a temperature gun in his car. He went out, got it, and came back. He checked each pie. This one is supposed to be hot, but it's only warm. This one is supposed to be warm, but it's cool. And this one is supposed to be cool, but it's cold. Derek looked at the ceiling. He might have been praying. Or maybe just trying not to explode. "Remake all the pies," he said quietly. Workers went back to the kitchen. They started heating some pies and cooling others. The exhaustion on their faces was clear, but they kept working because Derek would yell at them if they stopped. Marcus watched them go. He felt a small twinge of guilt. These workers were not the problem. Derek was the problem. But sometimes, to get to the bully, innocent people got caught in the middle. Still, Marcus was going to make sure the workers knew this was not about them. He walked to the counter where Sarah was standing. She looked ready to collapse. "Hey," Marcus said gently, "you're doing an amazing job. This is a really complicated order and you've handled it perfectly." Sarah looked surprised, then grateful. "Thank you. That's kind of you to say. I mean it. You've been professional and patient. That's not easy with an order like this." Sarah smiled a little. It was the first smile Marcus had seen from her in hours. Derek noticed the interaction. He walked over. "We're working on the pies now. They'll be ready soon." "Great," Marcus said. "I really appreciate everyone's hard work. Especially Sarah here. She's been fantastic." Derek's expression darkened. He did not like anyone praising his workers. That was his job. And he certainly did not give praise. The pies came out. Marcus checked them with his temperature gun. "All perfect this time." "Wonderful," Marcus said. "Okay, let me do a final check of everything." Derek made a sound that might have been a whimper. Marcus went back through the entire order. He opened containers. He looked at food. He made notes on his list. Everything seemed correct now. After 3 remakes of some items, everything finally met his specifications. "Excellent," Marcus said. "Everything looks good." Relief washed over Derek's face finally. This nightmare was ending. "Now," Marcus said, "I need all of this packed up properly. Everything in separate bags organized by type. Burgers in one set of bags. Fries in another. Drinks and carriers. Everything labeled clearly so I know which is which. Derek's relief vanished. Pack it all? That'll take another 30 minutes. I understand, Marcus said. But I need to be able to transport this properly. Can't have things getting mixed up after all this work, right? Right, of course. More work. Workers started packing everything. They organized bags. They labeled items. They put drinks in carriers. 30 minutes turned into 45 because they were so tired they kept making small mistakes. Finally, everything was packed. 20 large bags of food sat on the counter. 4 drink carriers. Everything labeled and organized. Marcus looked at it all and smiled. Perfect. This is exactly what I needed. Derek looked at the food, then at Marcus, then at his exhausted workers. He looked broken, defeated. 3.5 hours of chaos. 3.5 hours of remakes and corrections and very specific requests. Marcus reached into his jacket pocket. He pulled something out. Before I take all this, Marcus said, his voice changing slightly, becoming more serious. There's something I need to tell you. He opened the leather holder in his hand. Inside was a federal badge, FBI. My name is Special Agent Marcus Chen, he said clearly. FBI, the restaurant went silent. Workers stopped moving. Customers stared. Derek's face went white. I've been conducting surveillance at this location for 3 months as part of an ongoing investigation, Marcus continued. The investigation isn't about you, Derek, it's about financial crimes connected to the franchise ownership. Derek opened his mouth, but no sound came out. However, Marcus said, during my time here, I've observed some very concerning behavior. Workplace harassment, violations of labor laws, health code issues that have been overlooked, employees being treated in ways that are not just wrong, but illegal. Marcus took a step closer to Derek. His voice was quiet but firm. Do you know what I've been doing for the past 3.5 hours, Derek? Derek shook his head slightly. I've been showing you what it feels like. The silence in the restaurant was complete. No one moved. No one spoke. Everyone stared at Marcus and his FBI badge. Derek's face had lost all color. He looked like he might faint. His mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. Marcus kept his badge displayed. He wanted everyone to see it. He wanted there to be no doubt about who he was. For 3 months, Marcus said, his voice carrying through the quiet restaurant. I've watched you treat workers terribly. I've seen you yell at teenagers over small mistakes. I've watched you mock people. I've seen you make workers feel worthless. He gestured around the chaotic restaurant. Tonight, you spent 3.5 hours dealing with my very specific, very complicated order. Every time something was wrong, I asked for it to be remade. Every correction took time. Every mistake was pointed out. How did that make you feel, Derek? Derek's lips trembled. I don't understand. Let me help you understand, Marcus said. Last Thursday, I watched you humiliate a young woman named Sarah. You called her stupid. You said she was worthless. You dumped fries on the counter and made her clean them up with her bare hands while she cried. Do you remember that? Sarah, standing behind the counter, had tears forming in her eyes. But this time they were different tears. That was her first day, Marcus continued. She made one small mistake. Anyone could have made it. But you destroyed her in front of everyone. You made her feel small and powerless. Marcus looked around at the other workers. I've watched you treat all of them this way. And I've watched them take it because they need their jobs, because they have no power, because no one protects them. He turned back to Derek. Tonight, you felt powerless. You had to smile and be polite while I made you remake food over and over. You had to watch your restaurant fall into chaos. You had to deal with angry customers and exhausted workers. You could not do anything about it because I was just a customer asking for what I paid for. Derek's hands were shaking now. But You what? Marcus asked. You were just doing your job? You were just maintaining standards? No, Derek. You were being a bully. You used your little bit of power to hurt people who could not fight back. Marcus put his badge away. He picked up one of the bags of food. Now here's what happens next. The Department of Labor has been informed about your scheduling practices, how you sometimes keep workers for 10 hours without proper breaks, How you schedule minors past legal hours. They'll be investigating. Derek's eyes went wide. No, wait, I can explain. OSHA will be reviewing your safety protocols. The State Labor Board will be speaking with several former employees about the hostile work environment you've created. Your uncle's franchise will be looked at very carefully. Marcus picked up another bag. My investigation into the money laundering operation is complete. We have enough evidence. Arrests will be made soon. But your personal behavior? That's a separate issue. And now multiple agencies know about it. Please, Derek said, his voice breaking. I need this job. I can't. You need this job? Marcus's voice hardened. Sarah needs her job. All these workers need their jobs. But that did not stop you from treating them like garbage. Did it? Derek had no answer. Marcus looked at Sarah. His expression softened completely. Sarah, you don't have to work in a place where you're treated poorly. What happened to you last week was wrong. It was harassment. You have witnesses. He pulled a business card from his pocket and handed it to her. This has information for the State Labor Board. If you want to file a complaint, you can. I'll provide a statement about what I witnessed. Sarah took the card with shaking hands. Thank you, she whispered. Marcus turned to the other workers. That goes for all of you. No one should be afraid at work. No one should be humiliated for small mistakes. You deserve better. One of the cooks, a young man who had been working on Marcus's order all night, spoke up. Are you really FBI? Yes, Marcus said. I've been coming here twice a week for 3 months. I was investigating financial crimes, but I saw how you were all treated. I could not just ignore it. Another worker, the older woman who worked the fries, asked, Is Derek going to get in trouble? That depends on what investigations find, Marcus said. But I can tell you that multiple agencies will be looking closely at how this restaurant operates. Derek suddenly found his voice. This is not fair. You used your position to harass me. You made me waste hours on a fake order. That's abuse of power. Marcus turned to him slowly. Abuse of power? Let me tell you about abuse of power, Derek. Abuse of power is using your position as manager to humiliate people who cannot fight back. Abuse of power is making someone cry on their first day over spilled fries. Abuse of power is creating a workplace where people are afraid all the time. He pointed at the bags of food. This was me placing a large, specific order. Everything I asked for was something a customer could legitimately order. I paid full price. I was polite the entire time. I just wanted my order to be correct. That's not abuse of power. That's being a customer. But you did it to get revenge, Derek said desperately. No, Marcus corrected. I did it to teach you a lesson. Revenge would have been arresting you for something. Revenge would have been making false complaints. All I did was show you what it feels like to be powerless while someone wastes your time and makes you feel small. Marcus picked up more bags. Several customers came forward to help him carry things to his car. They had been watching the whole scene and were clearly on Marcus's side. As Marcus walked toward the door with his arms full of food, he stopped and turned back one more time. Derek, you made people feel worthless over burgers and fries. You used your position to bully workers who just wanted to earn money. You created a toxic environment where people were afraid to make mistakes. He gestured at the chaos around them. Remember tonight. Remember how frustrated you felt. Remember how helpless you felt. Remember what it was like to have someone point out every little mistake. Every time you think about yelling at a worker in the future, remember this feeling. Derek stood there destroyed. His authority was gone. His power was gone. Everyone had seen him humiliated by an FBI agent who had turned the tables on him completely. Marcus walked to the door. Sarah rushed over and opened it for him. Thank you, Marcus said to her. You're going to be okay. You're stronger than you know. Sarah was crying again but smiling through the tears. You stood up for me. No one's ever done that. Everyone deserves someone to stand up for them, Marcus said. He walked out to his car. Other customers helped him load the 20 bags of food and 4 drink carriers. When everything was in his vehicle, Marcus got in the driver's seat. He looked back at the restaurant. Through the windows, He could see Derek still standing in the same spot, looking broken. He could see workers talking to each other, some excited, some relieved. He could see Sarah holding his business card like it was precious. Marcus started his car. He had one more stop to make tonight. He drove 3 blocks to the homeless shelter. It was a large building that provided meals and beds to people who had nowhere else to go. Marcus had called them earlier in the week. They were expecting him. He pulled up to the back entrance. A woman came out. She was the shelter director. "Agent Chen?" she asked. "Yes, I have food. A lot of food. All paid for. All perfectly prepared. Burgers, fries, drinks, pies, salads. Enough to feed everyone here tonight." The director's face lit up. "Are you serious?" "Completely serious." She called for help. Several shelter workers came out. They started unloading Marcus's car. They carried bags inside. People who had been hungry tonight would eat well. "Why did you do this?" the director asked. Marcus thought about how to answer. "Let's just say I wanted to turn something bad into something good. A bully spent hours making this food. But the people who really made it are good people who work hard. Now it's going to help people who need it." The director did not fully understand, but she smiled. "Well, whatever the reason, thank you. You've made a lot of people very happy tonight." Marcus drove home. It was after 10 o'clock. He was exhausted, but he felt good. Really good. He had spent 3.5 hours showing Derek Sullivan what it felt like to be on the receiving end of his own behavior. He had exposed Derek's treatment of workers to multiple government agencies. He had given Sarah and the other workers a path to file complaints if they wanted to, and he had fed hungry people with $300 worth of perfectly made food. Marcus's phone buzzed. It was a text from Lisa. "Saw the videos on social media. You're trending. Nice work." Marcus smiled. "Just doing what was right. FBI might have questions. I have answers. Everything I did was legal. Get some rest. You earned it." Marcus got home and sat on his couch. He turned on the news. The story was already there. FBI agent orders massive fast food meal to teach manager about workplace harassment. The video from the restaurant was playing. Marcus revealing his badge. Marcus explaining to Derek what he had done. The reporter was calling it unusual but justified. Social media was exploding. The hashtag was Burger Justice. People were sharing their own stories about bad managers. Workers were thanking Marcus for standing up for them. Some people criticized him for abusing his authority, but most people understood what he had done. Marcus turned off the TV. He had a feeling tomorrow would be interesting. Friday morning arrived with Marcus's phone buzzing constantly. Text messages, emails, news alerts. The story had gone completely viral overnight. Marcus sat at his kitchen table with coffee and scrolled through the reactions. Someone had posted the full video from the restaurant. It had been viewed 8 million times. The comments were running 10-1 in Marcus's favor. Finally, someone stands up to workplace bullies. This is what justice looks like. FBI agent uses his powers for good. There were negative comments too. Some people said Marcus had abused his position. Others said he had wasted food. A few said he was just as much a bully as Derek. But most people got it. Most people understood that sometimes you had to show a bully what their own medicine tasted like. Marcus's boss called at 8 in the morning. My office. 9 o'clock. Marcus got dressed in his suit and drove to the FBI field office. When he arrived, Lisa was waiting outside the boss's office. "Ready for this?" she asked. "As ready as I'll ever be." They walked in together. Their supervisor, Assistant Director James Patterson, sat behind his desk. He was in his 50s with gray hair and a stern expression. He gestured for them to sit. "Agent Chen," Patterson said, "I've had quite a morning. Phone calls from the media. Questions from headquarters. Even a call from a congresswoman's office. All about you and a fast food restaurant." "Yes, sir." "Tell me what happened." From the beginning, Marcus explained everything. His 3 months of surveillance. The money laundering investigation. Watching Derek Sullivan harass workers. The decision to teach Derek a lesson. The elaborate order. The revelation. Patterson listened without interrupting. When Marcus finished, the room was quiet for a long moment. "Did you use FBI resources for this personal action?" Patterson asked. "No, sir. I paid for the food with my own money." I made the order on my own time. I shared information with other agencies through proper channels. Everything was legal. But you revealed your identity as an FBI agent. Yes, sir. To provide context for my observations about workplace violations, I witnessed illegal harassment and labor law violations. I reported them to appropriate agencies. That's not just my right, it's my duty. Patterson leaned back in his chair. The money laundering investigation? Complete, Lisa said. We have enough evidence to move forward. Agent Chen's surveillance was thorough. This incident doesn't affect the case. Patterson was quiet again. Then surprisingly, he smiled slightly. You know what the congresswoman said on the phone? Marcus shook his head. She said thank you. She said workers in her district have been complaining about conditions at that franchise for years. Nothing ever happened. But now, because of your stunt, multiple agencies are investigating. Real change might happen. Marcus relaxed a little. That was the goal, sir. Your methods were unusual, Patterson said. Some might say inappropriate. But technically, you didn't break any rules. You placed an order. You checked your order. You paid for your food. You happened to also be an FBI agent who witnessed workplace violations. Yes, sir. That's exactly what happened. The media is calling you a hero. They're calling this the best use of an FBI badge they've ever seen. Do you know how rare that is? People usually hate when federal agents use their authority. I tried to use it responsibly, sir. Patterson stood up. Here's what's going to happen. The FBI will issue a statement saying you acted within appropriate boundaries. We'll emphasize that you reported legitimate violations to proper agencies. We'll note that your primary investigation was successful. Marcus stood too. Thank you, sir. But Chen? Patterson's expression became stern. Don't make a habit of this. We investigate crimes. We don't run personal revenge operations, no matter how justified they feel. Understood, sir. This was a one-time thing. Good, now get back to work. And maybe avoid that particular restaurant for a while. Marcus and Lisa left the office. Outside, Lisa laughed. You got away with it. I didn't do anything wrong, Marcus said. I just ordered food and reported violations. Sure, keep telling yourself that. Over the next few days, the story continued to grow. News outlets ran segments about workplace harassment in fast food. They interviewed former employees of the franchise who shared their own Derek stories. The picture painted was damning. The Department of Labor announced a formal investigation into all 5 franchise locations. They found multiple violations: improper scheduling, unpaid overtime, failure to provide required breaks, unsafe working conditions. OSHA found health and safety violations. The State Labor Board received complaints from 7 former employees. Derek's uncle tried to defend his nephew. He gave an interview saying Derek was a good manager who was just doing his job. But the evidence was too strong. The public backlash was too intense. 10 days after Marcus's elaborate order, Derek Sullivan was fired. His uncle released a statement saying Derek no longer represented the values of the franchise. They were implementing new training programs and oversight procedures. Sarah became a local celebrity. She gave an interview to the local news. She talked about what Derek had done to her. She talked about how scared she had been. And she talked about how Marcus had stood up for her when no one else would. He showed me that people care, Sarah said on camera, tears in her eyes. He showed me that bullies can face consequences. I'll never forget what he did. The interview went viral too. Sarah received multiple job offers from companies who wanted to support her. She eventually accepted a position at a small business with better pay and a supportive manager. The owner specifically mentioned hiring her because he wanted to show that not all managers were like Derek. Marcus returned to his regular work. The money laundering case moved forward. Arrests were made. The franchise owner was charged with financial crimes. The case was strong and would likely result in convictions, but Marcus kept getting messages. Workers from other restaurants thanking him. People sharing their own bad boss stories. Some asked if he could help them too. Marcus responded to everyone. He explained he could not investigate every workplace issue, but he provided information. He told people about the Department of Labor, about OSHA, about state labor boards. He explained how to file complaints. He encouraged people to stand up for themselves. 3 weeks after the incident, a package arrived at Marcus's office. Inside was a framed photograph. It showed Sarah and several other workers from the restaurant. They were all smiling, holding a sign that read, "Thank you, Agent Chen." There was a note with it. Sarah had written, Dear Agent Chen, you changed our lives. After you stood up to Derek, we all found the courage to speak up. Some of us filed official complaints. Some of us found better jobs. All of us learned that we deserve respect. The restaurant has a new manager now. She's kind. She treats us well. The working conditions are better. Corporate made changes because of what you exposed. But more than that, you taught us something important. You taught us that someone cares. You taught us that the system can work. You taught us that sometimes good people do good things. We talk about what you did all the time. How you spent hours making Derek feel what we felt every day. How you used your authority to protect people instead of hurt them. How you showed that justice isn't always about big crimes. Sometimes it's about standing up for people making $8 an hour. Thank you. We'll never forget you. With gratitude, Sarah and the crew. Marcus put the frame on his desk, right between his commendations and his family photos. His colleagues asked about it. He told them the story, though he downplayed his own role. What he did not tell them was the promise he had made to himself that night. His job was to investigate major crimes. His job was to take down criminals who operated on large scales. That was important work. But he would never forget that justice was not just about the big cases. Sometimes justice was about standing up for a teenager being humiliated over spilled fries. Sometimes justice was using your resources to protect people who had none. Sometimes justice looked like the most elaborate fast food order ever placed, designed specifically to give a bully a taste of his own medicine. 6 months passed. The money laundering case went to trial. Convictions were secured. The franchise was sold to new owners who implemented better policies across all locations. Derek Sullivan found a job at a warehouse. He had no authority over anyone. He worked alone most of the time. Workers who knew his history said he was quiet now, subdued. The swagger was gone. Marcus occasionally drove past the restaurant. He never went inside again, but he could see through the windows that things were different. Workers seemed happier. The new manager smiled. Customers were not witnessing harassment. One evening, Marcus was having dinner with Lisa. She brought up the incident. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "The way you handled Derek?" Marcus thought about it. "No, I don't regret it. Some people only understand things when they experience them personally. Derek never understood what he was doing to his workers until he felt it himself." "You took a risk," Lisa said. "Could have gone badly for you. It was worth it. Sarah and those other workers deserved someone to stand up for them." Lisa smiled. "You know what I think? I think you did it because you couldn't not do it. You saw someone being hurt and you had the power to stop it. That's who you are." Marcus did not argue. She was right. A year later, Marcus received a message through social media. It was from Sarah. "Hi, Agent Chen, I wanted to let you know I'm doing great. I'm assistant manager at my new job now. They're training me to eventually run my own location. I never thought I could do something like this. But you showed me I was worth more than Derek said I was. You gave me confidence. Thank you for everything. I hope you're doing well," Marcus wrote back. "I'm so proud of you, Sarah. You were always capable of great things. Sometimes all we need is someone to believe in us. Keep being amazing." He closed his laptop and looked at the framed photo on his desk. 7 smiling faces, 7 people who had been scared and hurt but were now thriving. 1 elaborate fast food order. 3.5 hours. $300. It had been worth every penny and every minute. The story became legend in FBI circles. New agents heard about the burger justice case. Some thought it was funny. Some thought Marcus had been unprofessional. But most understood the deeper point. Power should be used to protect, not to harm. Authority came with responsibility. And sometimes the right thing to do was not in the manual or the rule book. Sometimes the right thing was just seeing someone who needed help and deciding to help them. Marcus continued his career. He investigated major crimes. He took down dangerous criminals. He did important work. But that Thursday evening in October remained special. That was the night he had shown a bully what it felt like to be bullied. The night he had stood up for people who could not stand up for themselves. The night he had turned a simple meal into the ultimate fast food order revenge. And on nights when the job felt heavy, when the cases seemed too big and the criminals too powerful, Marcus would look at that photo. He would remember Sarah picking up fries while crying. He would remember Derek's face when the badge came out. He would remember 7 happy faces in a photograph. Sometimes justice was about the big cases. But sometimes it was about burgers and fries and showing one bully that he was not untouchable after all. That lesson stayed with Marcus forever. And he never regretted teaching it. The end.